Luz de Maria sat on the edge of her bed, the soft glow of the morning sun filtering through her curtains, casting ethereal patterns on her wall. With her textbooks sprawled around her, yesterday's lectures still fresh in her mind, she felt a warmth envelop her, a lightness that was almost tangible. It was as if the world outside had paused, holding its breath in anticipation of something magnificent about to unfold. As she immersed herself in her studies, her thoughts drifted back to an unprecedented moment that had transformed her very existence. Just days ago, in the solitude of her prayer corner, she had received an extraordinary vision that shook the very foundation of her faith. The air had thickened around her, heavy with an undeniable presence. Then, before her very eyes, the Virgin Mary appeared, a figure cloaked in serene light, radiating a love that transcended the earthly realm. Luz could still remember the feeling of awe that surged through her entire being. She felt a pull towards Mary, an invitation that resonated deep within her soul. But this feeling soon gave way to a torrent of emotion. Excitement, fear, and disbelief cascaded through her like a river breaking free from a dam. The Mother of God had chosen her as a messenger, beckoning her to share a prophetic message that the world so desperately needed. Yet, how could it be true? Why her, a mere theology student still grappling with her own doubts? In the days that had followed, she grappled with the significance of this calling. Thoughts raced through her mind like wild stallions. Every encounter she had seemed imbued with new meaning, conversations draped with veils of prophetic undertones. Those she met could be the very recipients of the message meant for their hearts. But then doubt crept in, whispering insidiously that perhaps she was simply succumbing to her own imagination, to her fervent desire to feel a connection to something greater. Perhaps it was just the stress, she muttered to herself, running her fingers through her hair, a gesture she often used to soothe her own racing thoughts. And yet the memory of Mary's smile, the encouragement in her eyes, loomed large in her mind, a constant reminder of the clarity she had felt during that moment. In the days leading to her next classes, she felt a magnetic pull toward her peers, especially toward those who shared her passion for theology. But she hesitated to confide in them, aware of the skepticism that often greeted unconventional beliefs. Would they laugh? Would they roll their eyes? Or worse, would they see her as a fanatic? These thoughts gnawed at her, creating a chasm that separated her from her friends, a distance she felt acutely amid their shared enthusiasm. Yet, curiosity ran deep in her circles. At lunch, as her friends exchanged animated views on scripture and doctrine, she listened intently, wondering if one of them might take an interest in the visions she had received. A divine message she felt obligated to share, yet terrified of doing so. She mulled over her quiet resolve while chewing absently on a sandwich, distracted by an internal dialogue that seemed to drown out her friend's chatter. "It's your calling, Luz," she whispered to herself during moments of prayer. "You cannot remain silent." Her heart urged her towards courage, yet her mind recoiled at the prospect of ridicule or even scorn. When she finally found the courage to confide in her closest friend, Anna, Luz's heart raced, uncertainty looming over her like a storm cloud. In the sanctuary of Anna's cozy apartment, surrounded by vibrant religious icons and candles, she took a deep breath and revealed her experience. "Anna, I saw her," Luz stammered, her voice trembling with the weight of her words. "The Virgin Mary came to me. She spoke to me and told me I have a message." Anna's eyes widened, a mixture of disbelief and intrigue dancing across her face. "You're serious?" she whispered, leaning in closer, searching Luz's expression for truth. "I am, but I'm scared. What if it's a figment of my imagination? What if I'm misunderstood?" Luz's voice cracked as she shared her fears. Anna reached for Luz's hands, squeezing them gently. "You have to tell me everything. Whether it's real or not, I believe it means something to you. Let's explore this together." Finding solace in Anna's partnership, Luz began sharing every detail of her experience, their discussions unfolding into long, meandering conversations filled with theology and spirituality. Together, they examined scriptures and prophecies, seeking parallels and deeper understanding. However, as her resolve began to solidify, she couldn't shake the thought of authority figures who would likely dismiss her vision as mere delusion, who would believe a young student over seasoned theologians who had longer resumes and established reputations. What if the professors in her department contacted her parents or spoke to her in a way that would discourage her from pursuing this path, effectively snuffing out the fragile flame of her calling? As days turned into weeks, the fears that once held her back began to transform into a quiet determination. Luz realized that if the message was to be shared, it would require not only personal courage, but a grounded understanding of what she had seen. She returned to her studies with renewed vigor, seeking to understand visions throughout history, looking into figures like Saint Joan of Arc and the visionaries of Fatima. Every evening, she would light a candle and sit in quiet contemplation, searching for clarity amid her swirling thoughts. Each flicker of the flame reminded her of Mary's presence when she had received the message, grounding her with the supernatural in a tangible kind of way. The flame whispered encouragement, nudging her to not shy away from what lay ahead. "Oh, sweet Virgin," she would pray, "grant me the strength to share this message, to be your vessel. If this is your will, guide me toward those who need to hear it." While she navigated her studies, she also sought support from other students at gatherings and prayer groups, sharing her experiences cautiously. Some nodded in understanding, others offered glances of skepticism. Yet, with every spoken word, the message within her seemed to grow stronger, firmer. The doubts that once buried her lifted slightly, replaced by the voices of those who believed in possibility. But with that belief came the inevitability of confrontation. It wasn't long before whispers of her visions reached the ears of the professors at the seminary. It happened on an afternoon when she received an email inviting her to meet with Dr. Ruiz, a respected theologian known for his unwavering stance on doctrine and tradition. Her heart sank as she read the note, knowing that this could be the moment when her faith, and her vision, would come under scrutiny. Walking into Dr. Ruiz's office, she felt an odd mix of excitement and dread. The walls were lined with books, a testament to years of study. A wooden cross hung behind his desk, the light casting shadows that danced ominously in the corners. He sat there, fingers steepled, his expression inscrutable. "Luz de Maria," he began, his voice even, yet it carried an underlying authority. "It has come to my attention that you have been discussing certain experiences that you claim are divine in nature. I wanted to hear your thoughts firsthand." As she gathered her thoughts, she felt the weight of every moment that had brought her here. She took a deep breath and started to share her vision, choosing her words as carefully as possible, pouring out the essence of her experience and the conviction that accompanied it. Dr. Ruiz listened intently, his brow furrowing at intervals, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. When she finished recounting her story, she held her breath, waiting for the storm clouds to gather, for the judgment to rain down. After a long silence, he spoke. "Luz, while your faith is commendable, visions like the one you describe must be approached with great caution. Many claim to be chosen, yet their motives often stray. It is important to remain grounded in your studies. Theology requires a disciplined approach, free from emotional tumult." Her heart sank at his words, feeling the space between them grow wide with skepticism. "But if this is indeed a message," she pressed, how can anyone overlook it?" He leaned back in his chair, a look of contemplation settling over his features. "True belief often invites scrutiny. The challenge you face is discerning whether this is a path of genuine inspiration or one that strays into self-deception. I suggest you pray extensively and reflect on the impact of your words before sharing them publicly." Exiting his office was like emerging from a storm cloud, drenched in doubt, yet carrying a flicker of hope. Luz knew the battle ahead would be fraught with challenges, voices that would seek to turn her away from the calling she felt pressing upon her heart. Yet, she also recognized the seed of determination that had taken root. In the days that followed, she began to articulate her vision in smaller groups, seeking validation from her peer community. With each encounter, she remained steadfast in her resolve, prepared to embrace the trials ahead while trusting in the vision that had blessed and burdened her life. Each heartfelt discussion built upon the last, creating a network of support that fortified her resolve. Luz de Maria was beginning to understand that the journey of a messenger was rarely straightforward. Guided by faith, pursued by doubt, she ventured forth into a world that desperately needed her message. And she was determined to navigate the challenges that lay ahead, no matter how formidable they might be. Luz woke up each morning to the gentle chirping of birds outside her window, a sound that had become both a comfort and a burden. It reminded her of a world filled with possibility, yet it also echoed her own inner turmoil. The sunlight streamed in through the curtains, casting delicate patterns on her bed, illuminating the official theology textbooks that now felt heavier than ever. She was aware that her life was on the cusp of something extraordinary, a transition from the mundane to the divine. As she prepared for her classes at the seminary, the ancient walls of the institution loomed around her, filled with whispers of generations past. Every hallway she walked through resonated with the footsteps of theologians and scholars who had devoted their lives to the words she was now studying. Luz often found herself engrossed in her studies, diving deep into the intricacies of Scripture, the rich tapestry of church history, and the profound philosophical debates that shaped belief systems. Yet, amidst her intellectual pursuits, the divine mission she had accepted started to intertwine with her daily life in ways she hadn't anticipated. The lecture halls, usually her refuge of learning, began to feel like battlegrounds of her conflicting identities. She frustratedly scribbled notes on Dr. Hargrove's lecture about the nature of divine communication, where he spoke passionately about prophets and messengers throughout history. "What makes a message divine?" he had asked, his voice echoing in the large room, captivating the students. "Is it the one who delivers it, or the truth within the words?" Luz's hand hesitated atop her notes as she mulled over the implications of his question. Could she be a messenger too? The weight of that thought pressed down on her, intertwining with her academic pursuits. Her classmates, steeped in their own interpretations and beliefs, were blissfully unaware of the struggles churning within her. Over lunch in the bustling cafeteria, she sat with Maya and Thomas, her closest friends in the seminary. Maya was animatedly discussing a recent article she'd read on the role of women in the early church, a topic that always sparked passionate debate among the group. "You know," Maya began, a sparkle in her eye, "it's incredible how the narratives of those early women have shaped our understanding of ministry today. We have so much to learn from them, from their courage in proclaiming the truth." "Yeah, I agree," Thomas chimed in. "But we also have to be cautious. Not every voice is a divine voice, right? This world is full of distractions and misleading messages." Luz picked at her salad, feeling a knot form in her stomach at his words. His caution seemed like a mirror reflecting her own fears. Trusting in the messages she was receiving felt both exhilarating and terrifying. What if, she hesitated, what if the message comes from a place that isn't easily recognized? What if it's something foreign to our understanding? As the conversation turned to lighter topics, she remained lost in her thoughts, the essence of her friends' words blending with the teachings of her professors. With every passing day, she found herself wrestling with the dualities of her existence: scholar and messenger, student and servant of a higher calling. After classes, during moments of solitude in the library, Luz would dive into the theological texts with renewed intensity. Yet everywhere she turned, the heaviness of her mission loomed, casting a shadow over her academic clarity. Some days she felt a deep sense of purpose, while on others, doubt crept in like an unwelcome visitor. Could she articulate the divine message in a way that would resonate? Could her insights rival those who had come before her? Her professor, Dr. Hargrove, began to notice her distractions. "Luz," he said one afternoon after class, "you've been unusually quiet during discussions. Is there something on your mind?" Caught off guard, she hesitated before deciding to share a fraction of her burden. "I've been thinking a lot about the nature of revelation," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What it means to receive a message and how to interpret it." Dr. Hargrove's gaze softened. "That's a profound topic indeed. But remember, revelations often come at a cost. The more you seek to understand, the more the world will hold you accountable for what you uncover." His words hung in the air as Luz pondered the implications. She realized that her mission was not merely to receive a message, but to embody it in her life. This blend of responsibility with her academic path started to shift the dynamics of her relationships. In her discussions with her classmates, moments of levity became tinged with an underlying seriousness. It was as if she were keeping a secret, one that bore heavy implications, and she struggled to connect with her peers as she once had. One afternoon, while arguing the merits of different theological perspectives, Luz felt the thread of conversation pull taut. "Sometimes," she asserted, searching her friends' faces for understanding, "the messages we receive can feel overwhelming, even when they come from a place of truth." Thomas raised a brow, sensing her underlying conflict. "Do you speak from experience, Luz?" The question hung there, fragile yet powerful. "Yes," she confessed. "I feel like I'm grappling with something bigger than myself. It's hard to navigate this life when doubts creep in, and the answers aren't always clear." Maya leaned in closer, her expression softening. Luz, please remember that you're not alone. We're here with you, no matter what you're facing. Just don't let the message consume you to the point where you lose yourself. Luz swallowed hard, grateful for their support yet painfully aware of the chasm that had formed, fueled by her secret burdens. The more she learned, the more isolated she felt, as if her mission set her apart in a way she had never anticipated. As weeks melted into months, the pressures began to mount. The delicate balance of her life, captivating lectures, stimulating debates, and the overwhelming reality of her spiritual calling became a taut line, ready to snap. Each time she entered the lecture room, she felt the weight of every expectation, both from her professors and from herself. The more she sought clarity, the more elusive it seemed. In her quiet moments of reflection, she would often retreat to her favorite spot, a quaint bench tucked away in the garden at the edge of the campus. With her journal resting on her lap, she would write about her struggles, pouring out her heart in words that felt both cathartic and burdensome. There, among the blossoms and murmuring leaves, she would confront her fears and the echoing calls that beckoned her to act. Yet, even in those tranquil moments, the conflict brewed within her. The messenger she was becoming struggled to coexist with the student she had been. As she sat there one afternoon, watching the clouds drift by, a new resolve flickered within her. She understood that the path forward would not be easy. Instead, it would demand a blending of her identities into something new, an integration of learning and action. With the next semester approaching, she knew it was time to make a choice. To embrace her role as a messenger, to allow her academic understanding to serve her mission, and to find ways to intertwine the two. The journey ahead promised challenges and growth alike, but deep inside, she felt the stirrings of hope, a sense of purpose guiding her. As she closed her journal, she looked up at the sky, feeling a renewed sense of clarity wash over her. A divine connection awaiting her embrace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the sky, Luz found herself wandering through the moonlit clearing where she often sought solace. The gentle rustle of leaves whispered secrets old as time, but tonight, her heart was heavy with uncertainty. The prophetic visions had grown more intense, more vivid, and with them, the burden of her calling clung to her like a shroud. It was during these times of doubt that she yearned for clarity, for guidance, a presence to reassure her that she was not alone in this daunting path. I end the quiet of her thoughts. She recalled the Catholic prayers her mother had taught her as a child, invoking the Archangel Saint Michael. Luz had always felt a connection with him, a protective aura that wrapped around her during turbulent times. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, channeling her fears into words. Saint Michael, I need your strength. I need to know that I am on the right path. A chill swept through the air, and she opened her eyes to find Saint Michael standing before her, clad in shimmering armor, his wings partially unfurled, glistening under the pale moonlight. His eyes were fierce yet compassionate, embodying the fierce protector that the stories had described. Luz's heart swelled with a mixture of fear and awe as a soft but powerful voice reached her ears. Fear not, Luz. I am here, he said, stepping closer. Your calling is a heavy mantle to bear, but the weight of it shall not crush you. Instead, let it guide you. But how can I prepare for what lies ahead? Luz whispered, her voice trembling. The visions I see, they terrify me. I feel the weight of the world in my chest. Saint Michael regarded her with an understanding gaze, the gentle glow of his presence radiating warmth. You must begin by embracing the truth of your visions. They are not mere dreams. They are messages woven into the fabric of your being, crafted to awaken the world to its potential. The struggles you face will not destroy you. They will refine you. But what if I fail? What if I am not strong enough? Tears threatened to spill over as Luz looked down, feeling vulnerable under his gaze. The doubts nagged at her, clawing at her resolve like wild beasts eager to break free. He stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand upon her shoulder, the touch sending a surge of strength through her. Your strength does not lie solely within you. You are but a vessel, Luz. You are chosen for a reason, and with that choice comes the support of the divine. Lean on me, lean on your faith, and you shall find the courage to confront your fears. Luz inhaled deeply, the scent of pine and earth enveloping her, grounding her in the moment. What must I do? She asked, a flicker of determination sparking within her. You must prepare yourself both spiritually and mentally. Pray, meditate, and listen to the whispers of your soul. The struggles ahead will test your resolve, but in the strength of your commitment to your calling, you will find clarity. In that moment, Luz understood. The path she was to walk wouldn't be easy. It would be fraught with challenges and doubts, but the strength of her spirit and the guidance of Saint Michael would fortify her against despair. She felt a shift within her, an acceptance of the mantle she carried and a pledge to honor it with every breath. "Will you walk with me?" she asked, looking into his profound eyes, hoping against hope for a sign that she wouldn't have to face this journey alone. "I will always walk beside you," he replied, his voice echoing like a distant drumbeat resonating through the night. "In your moments of despair, call upon me. I will lend you the strength you need to rise against the shadows that may threaten your light." Luz nodded, a renewed resolve crystallizing in her spirit. "Then I will prepare. I won't let fear govern my heart. I will rise and face what is to come." And as she spoke, Saint Michael extended his hand towards her, offering a blessing of protection. A luminous light enveloped them both, and Luz felt the energy pulsating, flowing through her like a river of light. It was a reminder that she was not merely a child of the earth, but a bearer of a sacred message. With the night deepening around her, Luz began her preparations, a renewed diligence taking hold. She sought out the community that had once seemed overwhelming, weaving herself into the fabric of their lives, learning their fears and struggles. Her visions guided her to those in need, fostering a connection that was both enlightening and empowering. In moments of solitude, she embraced her spiritual rituals with fervor, chanting ancient prayers and manifesting intentions that intertwined with her immigrant past and the hopes of a brighter future. Days turned into weeks as she honed her abilities, engaging in meditation that connected her with the divine energy of the universe. And during those intimate connections to the spirit realm, she would often feel the presence of Saint Michael beside her, uplifting her spirit and affirming her courage. Each conversation deepened her understanding of her role, not just as a prophet, but as a healer and a warrior. Her heart grew as she opened it to the struggles of others, compassion blossoming where her doubts had once resided. Tonight, though, she felt particularly restless. Sitting near a small fire, flames flickering and dancing, she sought Saint Michael's presence again. "How do I know when the time is right to share my message?" she inquired, the flames illuminating her features, revealing a face determined yet contemplative. "You will know," he replied, his voice a low whisper in the rustling of the leaves. "Trust the intuition that resides within you. When the moment arrives, your heart will open, and the truth will flow through you like water, both gentle and unstoppable." His words resonated deeply within her, mingling with the warmth of the fire and the coolness of the night air. As time slipped by, Luz reflected on her journey, recognizing the profound transformation unfurling within her. Though shadows lingered at the edges of her mind, she felt a growing faith, a confidence that emerged not from the absence of fear, but in acknowledging it and choosing to rise regardless of its presence. "Saint Michael," she said, her voice steadied with purpose, "I will not falter. I promise to prepare and to listen. I promise to serve. Then let your light shine, dear prophet." "The world awaits your gift," he responded, his form shimmering as the fire crackled, casting shadows that danced like spirits around them. And as Luz looked into the heart of the fire, she felt the dawn of a new understanding glow within her. The path ahead would not be devoid of obstacles. She knew that now, but she also knew she carried the essence of a divine calling. With each passing day, she drew closer to her truth, realizing that the weight of her message was also the light guiding her way. That word of Luz's visions began to weave through the tightly knit fabric of the community. It spread like wildfire, igniting a fervor that had long lain dormant. The once hushed whispers turned into fervent discussions held in the dim light of kitchens and the flickering glow of street lamps, filled with both reverence and skepticism. News of her extraordinary experiences seeped into every corner, from the grocery store to the quiet church pews, creating an electric atmosphere rife with both anticipation and anxiety. Supporters gathered, their faces lit with a mixture of wonder and yearning, filling the old community hall with hopeful murmurs. They clutched each other's hands, eyes wide with belief that somehow Luz had tapped into a deeper truth, a celestial communication that could bridge the earthly struggles they faced daily. They spoke of unity, healing, and a collective future illuminated by her revelations. "She is a beacon," one woman proclaimed, tears glistening in her eyes as she drew the others closer, each sharing their own stories of hardship and resilience as they placed unwavering faith in Luz's gifts. Yet, in stark contrast, the echoes of doubt reverberated through the minds of others, swelling into a tide of skepticism, disdain, and outright hostility. Conversations turned acrimonious as dissenting voices questioned the legitimacy of Luz's visions. "What proof do we have?" a local shopkeeper would argue, shaking his head as he folded away the day's earnings. Those steeped in tradition and rationality often dismissed the phenomenon as mere fantasy, an illusion spun from a mind desperate for significance. "People are lost. They cling to fantasies instead of facing reality," he would declare, his voice heavy with contempt. This polarization manifested in tangible ways. Flyers adorned with sayings urging caution against the false prophet were tacked onto doors and lampposts, while secret gatherings sprang up to denounce Luz's messages as unholy. Rumors began to swirl that she was not just misguided but perhaps even dangerous, a notion that sowed deeper seeds of conflict within the community.